Hello, this is Primal Jquay, and I'm reacting to some recent news about basically an interview with Nintendo's new president, Shintaro Furukawa. As you know, has essentially taken the place of Kimishima running Nintendo Japan. So I just want to touch on a little thing he said in the interview that possibly a lot of people are kind of reacting to, and he's basically talking about a possible, not necessarily an actual thing, but essentially what might be following the 3DS platform that is now about 7 years older at this point and is apparently still going strong. So I'm basically going to take a quote from an article that was published in a shareholders meeting, and this was an interview by Kyoto Shimbun, who basically asking a few questions about Nintendo's objectives going on from there. He basically talked about the 3DS, and he's basically said, I'm just quoting there, that although it has been around much longer, the 3DS has certain advantages over the Switch, such as ease of purchase and the like. And he also hinted on a possible successor, saying that Nintendo are considering various possibilities, which essentially means they're considering it. They're thinking of what steps they could take to bring that platform forward, which I'd imagine at this point is confusing a lot of people right now, because they're all kind of thinking the 3DS is affordable, Nintendo Switch is affordable, and a lot of people are already considering that the Switch is a successor to the 3DS because it's portable. It's a console handheld hybrid, but the whole idea was that it was going to bring, you know, the console sort of development cycle and handheld development cycle all into one, because that's the only thing they have to worry about now. It's just going to be the Switch, and that is it. And I have a feeling that people are looking at that and basically saying there's no need for a 3DS successor at all. The 3DS is dead. It needs to be buried. We need to get away from that. It just needs to be the Switch, and that is it. Nothing more. No more platforms than that, just the Switch. My take on this is that these people have not actually been paying attention to what the whole philosophy behind not the Switch console, but the whole kind of concept behind what was termed as the NX platform actually was. And yes, in a sense, it can unify development, but that does not mean that it has to be one single platform. It doesn't mean it has to be one single console. It doesn't mean that it is the console handheld hybrid and that's it. That is not set in stone at all. What people need to consider, and this has come up quite a few times as well for people who have actually owned the Switch, what people need to consider, as with a lot of these media devices, is form factor. That is basically another thing to consider when you consider like different sort of demographics and, you know, market possibilities and all sorts of things. So to say that the 3DS should be ditched doesn't respect why the 3DS is a thing in the first place, why handhelds are a thing in the first place. It's portable, it's more importantly pocketable, it's essentially something that can easily be used, can easily be taken out with you and stuff and so on and stuff and such, and essentially, you know, specializes in that kind of area. And my view of what they're saying is that though the Switch is, you know, at the moment this console handheld hybrid that, you know, has this wonderful technology that allows you to play, you know, console quality games on a handheld system, it doesn't mean it's limited to that. And my view, from what I could tell on what the roadmap of the whole NX concept was that it wasn't centered around one device. It was basically platform based that can be ported across several different devices. So it's not like a completely different architectural difference. It's basically one single architecture that can be, taken across and maybe in some senses pared down to suit whatever platform there is. So the possibility for me is that the 3DS or whatever kind of dual screen thing that they may come up with next may actually be based on Switch hardware, and it might not even just be called the Switch. The idea is the Switch is the console handheld hybrid. That's the whole idea. That's what it's spelled out to be. That's why the marketing and everything around it, the branding, it's clear that it is that. The DS is still very much what it is. It's still a dual screen console. But before, with the 3DS and the Wii U, and before that with the DS and the Wii, those were completely totally different architecture. You could port games over. You see a lot of games that have been ported from the Wii U to the 3DS. For instance, Yoshi's Woolly World on the Wii U was ported to the 3DS as a Mapuche and Yoshi's Woolly World, and there was obviously a number of compromises made along the way, and it didn't come out at the same time. Same thing with more recently, Captain Toad. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is being released on the 3DS alongside the Switch version, but those again are two completely different things, and I'm pretty sure they were sort of developed in tandem with each other. So those are completely different. Going forward, I would say that one of the possibilities could essentially be a 3DS successor based on the Switch, or based on Switch architecture, which could essentially just mean a handheld that has dual screens, that maybe has 2 analog sticks, and maybe in some sense of the word that maybe possibly have some sort of thing that differentiates them from it. They could possibly put in a HD rumble in there or something like that. I don't know if they take it that far, but it will have high resolution screens. One of them will be a capacitive touch screen, or maybe both of them. How that work, but that could possibly be a thing. It might even be powerful enough to be able to do stereoscopic 3D in the same way that the 3DS does, or maybe have a better implementation of that. Again, the 3DS platform is actually split into 2 iterations of that, one being the 3DS, which has the stereoscopic 3D, sorry about that, it's really hard to say, and the 2DS, which is essentially taken off on its own, and that's made pretty much clear with the existence of the new 2DS XL, which is actually proving pretty popular at this moment in time. It could just go along with that. It could just be something that will carry on with that one, because the 3D, a lot of people didn't think that added much to it, but there's now another option with that we don't actually have to have that. So my thought with that, before everyone starts moaning about, oh, they're just doing the same thing they did before with the 3DS, and it's making the point of the Switch completely totally pointless, I would say look a little bit more into it, and I think you will find that actually they could actually be taking the concept of the Switch even further and still have this unified development platform where essentially you're making a game solely for the Switch, and it'll be a lot less difficult to actually port to whatever the 3DS successor will be, because it's basically on the same architecture. So, take that as a possible thing. I'm not saying it is actually a thing. I'm not going to be brave and say, oh, this is actually exactly what's going to happen. It's all speculation at this point. So that's all I wanted to say about that, and I hope this recording comes out, because I don't know what's going on with the mic at this point. Anyways, so what do you think of this news, and what did you think of my sort of take on it? Let me know in the comments, and well, whatever comes up next in the final reaction, it's later, don't know. Well, until then, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and keep on playing, folks.